Hello, and welcome back to Coin Lady channel. Finally, after nearly 5 months of anticipation, here it is. Exactly what am I referring to? This is the transcript of the SEC versus Library motions hearing for remedies held on January 30, 2023. Now, this is important for XRP holders and crypto holders in general, since attorney John Deaton was granted amicus status in not just the SEC versus Ripple case, but also the Library case for the remedies phase after the SEC was beaten by the Library in November. This concludes the January section on corrective measures. Furthermore, we were aware of the topics covered since Deaton's attorney, John Deaton, had previously supplied this information. The transcript itself, however, was something we lacked until today. What is happening here is significant because it establishes a precedent, even if it is not a legally enforceable precedent per se, and that will influence the course of events. It will have an effect on how other judges rule. And this tells us that even though the Library ultimately lost, the judge's verdict did not include secondary market transactions. As XRP holders, we need a future for XRP, for secondary market transactions to be allowed, and ideally for Ripple to still be able to buy and sell XRP, at the very least for on-demand liquidity purposes, so this is of critical importance if Ripple loses, which is possible. What he's accomplished is quite remarkable, John, especially considering the personal cost involved. You should know that he is not being compensated monetarily for his efforts. He's spending his own time and money on it, and he's only doing it because he's so driven. And for that, I am truly grateful beyond words. And I know that every single one of you listening right now can relate to that. I'm just going to get right down to business here. The real page count is 65. And I really don't have to go through it all to make my point. I'll spare you the details and explain what occurred in straightforward terms. I can tell you with absolute sure that without John Deaton, we would not have the clarity we do regarding this issue. What John Deaton done was beneficial to us XRP holders. Let's jump right into the SEC versus Ripple case, where Judge Torres is likely already aware of this. However, before I go any further, let it be known that I do not come from a financial or legal background. Nothing I say or write should be taken as recommendations to purchase or sell any particular security. Just a hobbyist here that occasionally posts films to YouTube on various crypto-related topics. Thanks to the Crypto Law Group, led by John Deaton, for making this material available. The most important part, which I will now review with you, was recently shared by an XRP community member named Ashley Prosper. And then lawyer John Deaton chimed in with a brief observation. The following is a transcript of the Library hearing that John Deaton attended, written by Ashley Prosper. Amazingly, John succeeds in convincing the judge that his judgment does not apply to secondary transactions and does not address whether tokens themselves are securities. And I'll just pause to point out that the SEC, being the slimy little pricks that they are, would absolutely try to take the judge's rule, order what he decreed here out of context and point to it in future cases, saying, "See, look, but look at these transactions," which is just one of the many reasons why this is important. It's all about having a backup plan. That's within their capabilities. Ashley Prosper continues by saying the judge is hesitant to issue an injunction against the Library for similar reasons. I swear to you, if it weren't for Mr. Deaton, the whole crypto business would be doomed. That man has our eternal gratitude. It's fascinating to consider the existence of all the illogical people that dislike Ripple and XRP. Everything that's happening is saving many lives right now. John Deaton, an attorney and XRP supporter, is responsible for this. A substantial cryptocurrency holding is not required. He has admitted it openly. In fact, he recalled the time the lawsuit was decided and mentioned it. Recently though, he made a brazen claim on Twitter that he had 10 times as much Bitcoin as XRP and 4 times as much ETH as XRP. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems about right. But the main thing is that XRP is his favorite cryptocurrency. He has always trusted him, but his crypto holdings dwarf that confidence. Because the XRP community was targeted by the SEC and, of course, by Ripple's leadership, he truly did go to bat for them here. Yes, let's do this now. Okay, sure. In fact, consider John Deaton's observation here. He expresses optimism that the judge will provide a judgment that helps clarify the parties' agreements from the hearing. While I am touched by the compliments, I would want to point out that Naomi Brockwell, not I, deserves the credit for having the guts to allow me to appear as amicus on her behalf. That's right, that's who lawyer Deaton was fighting for, either alone or alongside another person. In this instance, the lawyer involved was Naomi Brockwell. Without Deaton, he couldn't have played the part he did in the library case. So, let's quickly go over some of this. The bulk of what I'm going to cover is highlighted by Ashley Prosser, so I'll thank her for that. The first comment has been made. This must have come from Deaton, right? I'm not requesting that Your Honor replace the SEC, but I would appreciate it if you could elaborate on your previous ruling. The court then issues a ruling. And the courtroom in the background is only shorthand for the judge. The judge responds, "I'm sorry, but I read that article before you put it in. Again, I didn't cultivate those materials for kicks and giggles. I've been worried about this since it seems to me that blockchain is a serious and useful technology, and that tokens are required and have consumer applications. Furthermore, I presented evidence that suggested LBC has practical applications. That's only a token good for borrowing books from the library, it's not an actual currency. So, it's crucial to try and avoid ambiguity when talking about tokens of such type, while also safeguarding the public from unregistered securities offers. And I'm still not sure I get it. This was just a quick rush in between. Pause. At this time, I don't think I have a firm grasp on the SEC's position on the matter. Okay, that settles it. So, the judge agrees with me that the SEC de facto is, if I may put it that way. They're not even trying to execute their job properly. They avoid clarity because they don't want to. What is their opinion on this matter generally? But what if that thing actually serves a purpose? Then what? Okay, so cricket is correct. Furthermore, this court claims that the parties involved misunderstood my order. Right, Attorney Deaton chimes in. They presented LBC as a security, the judge argues, and I see why I used that language. They take that one line to mean that I consider the tokens to be a form of security and act on my order accordingly. And Deaton, the attorney, responds, exactly. Hold up. Because that's the terminology that was used in this lawsuit, that's what I was stating a minute ago. Therefore, the judge employed the pending lexicon in the case. So, it's possible to misunderstand and misinterpret the meaning. If the SEC were to take this position, LBC proponents may argue that the cryptocurrency is inherently insecure and cite this case as support, despite the fact that the precedent is not binding. So, that's what they do, right? These little beasts must be Satan's offspring. And the judge has admitted as much here. And Deaton, an attorney, concurs. Exactly, he said naturally. The judge continues, when I'm saying, no, I haven't made that determination. That hasn't been brought up in my presence. The fact that I utilized the terminology of the case law that defines what an investment contract is should not be interpreted as me taking a position on a subject that wasn't briefed, that I was thinking about but consciously hadn't decided. So, there you have it, my stance on the matter. Okay. The judge explains that he is merely repeating the terms that were used during the court case. Don't read into that he ruled that it is a security, he wasn't asked to rule on that. That is correct. He hadn't been asked to make a decision on it. Now, he could have elaborated on his ruling a little bit more. Simply put, he didn't. However, the main point is that he wasn't singled out. Judge wasn't making a ruling on it, but the SEC could still use that to their advantage by saying, look what the judge said if they wanted to. Security, do you see how dangerously slippery that language is if you utilize it? Finally, the court notes that he will make it clear that he is not taking the view that LBC is or is not a security when he issues an order on remedy, in case anyone thought the order meant something. In this case, the offerings of LBC were investment contracts, and as such, they were required to be registered with the SEC. I guess I'll put a pause on it. He merely states that the library transactions he is deciding upon are those involving LBC. The discussion is over. There will be no more deals or trading in the secondary market. The discussion is over. We are still awaiting the judge's decision. However, if he follows through on what he has promised here, we should expect some pretty good news when this comes out, at least with regards to this particular section. That is my anticipation. I just can't see him changing his mind after saying what he said at the end of January. In response, Attorney Deaton states, "Your Honor, and that is why I am here. And I'll be taking a seat in a moment. That's why I came all this way to make my point to you firsthand." This is the second judgment made by Judge Castile of the Southern District of New York, and both times he said, "You're not listening," which was printed in the telegram. Security-gram tokens are not the underlying contract. Coded using letters and numbers. That isn't the safety measure. This is the strategy and the offering. That, at least, needs to be made crystal apparent. Exactly. The lawyer, unsurprisingly, came through with flying colors. I suppose the only positive thing I can say is that I recognize Deaton's attempt to steer him in this course. The judge should have gone farther and stated the item itself is not the security, but he wouldn't do that, so we didn't receive that. According to him, he mumbled something about how he identifies as a minimalist. He just couldn't bring himself to say those words. Even if it's simply to clarify that secondary market transactions are explicitly excluded, that would be great. That's a major deal, for sure. Wow, that's amazing. As far as I'm concerned, that's a huge win for XRP holders and the entire crypto community. Deaton said, "I'm asking that, Your Honor, if you do enter injunctive relief or in the clarification that you state that your ruling has nothing to do with secondary sales." Accordingly, Deaton says, "Hey, if you're going to do that, could you please just clarify that what you're ruling on does not include secondary sales, for the love of God, damn it," my words, not his. The court continues, "Unless the SEC changes its position and argues that some of the relief order should affect secondary sales, I fully intend to do so." Now, let's pause to observe that the SEC is trying to be slippery when it comes to the idea that the asset itself is a security. Based on their arguments, you could easily conclude that they are, but they won't admit it. Therefore, I seriously doubt that the SEC will suddenly decide that secondary market trades do indeed constitute securities. That, basically, is a hopeless cause. I mean, if it came down to that, it would be unprecedented. There simply isn't any legal precedent for it. So, they could argue that, though I doubt they will. The judge has made his decision, and he will carry it out unless and until they comply. Right. That's how I see it, anyway. The judge continues, saying that if they maintain their existing position, that they don't need to take any action regarding secondary sales, then she will make it quite plain that her ruling has nothing to do with such transactions. Stop for a moment. The exact meaning of the words he used will become immediately apparent. That's perfect for our purposes. Next, he says, "I have doubts about whether to grant any injunction at all here," echoing his earlier statement. "And to the extent I don't award any injunction at all, that worry will go away, as I won't be granting any injunction that may be misunderstood to extend to secondary transactions, as the SEC has repeatedly told me. It is not motivated to exert any influence here. In a word, yes. According to what I've heard. Still, we're talking about the Southeastern Conference here. What horrible people they are. Do you have any idea what their next move will be? They all lead back to that one thing. If you know that they bring this up in other cases, and they know that they can get away with it by using sneaky-sounding language, like I have been doing all throughout this video, then you know that these people are horrible. Naturally, they would completely misunderstand it. That being said, I do believe the judge made the incorrect choice when he ruled in favor of the library in November, citing multiple reasons for the loss. I have discussed this at length. Therefore, I will not do so in this video, but at least we have this. And this is a major development. This is more significant for the average crypto investor here. Secondary market trades require security measures. That being the case, we need not worry so long as we succeed in achieving our goal. And neither should transactions. Not because of those specific points. This is all pretty neat, huh? Finally, we've arrived. It's all Attorney Dean's fault. This is so awesome, it's scary. I'm just relieved that, at least conceptually, we've reached the end of our voyage. Unless we have one of those insane appeals that drags on for a decade. But I don't want to speak ill of it. I'm pleased that the XRP community has reached the end of its journey with respect to the legal matters that have dogged it up until now. An upcoming video will go into further detail on that topic. However, many other exchange schemes are under attack at the moment. They have only just begun what will be a long process over many years. The SEC is the equivalent of the devil. Obviously, I can't provide you financial advice. Nothing I say or write should be used as a basis for making financial decisions. Please like and subscribe my channel. See you in the next video, bye.